Hello. Okay, whilst this might look like something terrible, it should work out of the box. Um, we download this from Blackboard. We make sure that we extract the folder, which I will show in class. We open pure data, and then we do file open, and we find this file, sine test 5 cloud body. Don't worry about the one that says VST obs, you probably won't see that. This is because I need to play this into OBS. And you click on PD DSP, this box here, to turn audio on, and you click the red button. And this is making simple sine wave blips. But we can randomize and control a number of variables. We can control the number of sines or the number of blips, the duration of each blip with a random and an offset here. And that offset is always going to be above 20 because there's a fixed ramp up and a fixed ramp down. So if the random number was 0, we would just have this little ramp up, ramp down on the sine wave. And right now these sines are going through a reverb, and we can set the amplitude of this reverb to 0. They are randomized spatially inside this generator unit. Go back to having something slightly longer, a random of anywhere between 500, so between 20 and 520. Let's increase the number of sine waveforms to 50. So what I'm doing here is I'm clicking on the box, and you can either click, hold with the left mouse button and drag. If in case of this overall volume you wanted something here that goes from 0 to 1, if you want it to be bigger, you can again click and drag. If you want to adjust the decimal part, you hold the shift key down and then you click and drag, and you can control the decimal part as well. Obviously I don't want fractional number of sinusoids, but I can also click in a box, its outline turns black. I can then type 50, press return, and these are all happening at a random delay from the start. So anywhere between 0 and 5 seconds. So if I had these anywhere between 0 and oops, that's quite quick, 1 second, because these numbers are milliseconds. So there's 1,000 milliseconds in a second. So we should now hear 50 within 1 second. So now all these sinusoids are happening at a random number frequency between 100 and 1100. I could shift them all up 1000 Hertz. Remember, this is not pitch, this is frequency, so it sounds a little kind of out of tune because the notes are not fixed to MIDI pitches. We go back to something shorter. And now we could go back to maybe again back to 3000, 3 seconds, and have 80 of these. And we could actually make the ambitus much wider. So let's have 5000 Hertz and go back to something like something really low, 50 offset. They could be seriously long or randomized. let's say anything up to 2 seconds long. So you can see here how we could potentially paint textures that are thin and small and long, or very tiny blippy that could eventually grow to be short and blippy. I need to find another word for blippy, but short and blippy across a wide frequency spectrum. We can ask a number of questions about the programming of this. One of the questions I'd like to sort of ask and consider is, well, I would like to make a transformation from very small and tiny to very large and blippy, like we would have seen if we used Coagula to paint these sounds. But we're doing this from a sort of algorithmic point of view. Furthermore, I'd like to use not just a sine wave, but perhaps a sawtooth wave, or perhaps noise with a filter. So this is additive synthesis, and we can look at the opposite, which is using noisy sounds, and a filter, which is subtractive synthesis. But meanwhile, you can create some amazing textures. So we could set this even higher and put 1000 offset. We could set this at 10,000. We could add our reverb at 100. It goes up to 100. We could have the maximum number of sines we can have right now is 100. And the duration, yes, we could have anywhere up to 3000 and go. Okay, we want, you might have had to reach for the volume control on that. Maybe we could leave it at 8000 but reduce this back down to, well, 50 is a bit low, 100. We could lower the volume a little bit. You know, we could start to change the reverb over time. We could slide that. Let's do one more example. Keep the frequencies the same, random, but let's get these really short, 120 to just 20. And then, of course, with it being a program that you've written yourself, this is a maximum of 100 sines. I could just say, actually, let's go with 1000. And then let's go with sort of 700 here. Let's drop the volume because it could get very loud. Still going to 10,000, so it should be, let's just drop that a little bit, a lot of sine waves, very short and bubbly, across a wide frequency spectrum over 10 seconds with very little reverb, but I'll alter the reverb as it goes along. Which is kind of interesting. Okay, now have a go.